Welcome to the No Te Rindas Intermediate English Podcast, home of the Tenaz Intermediate English app, disponible en noterrindaspodcast.us. Este es un podcast para hispanohablantes que quieren mejorar su comprensión auditiva del inglés de los Estados Unidos. Somos dos hermanos americanos con raíces mexicanas. Soy Gabo, o Gabe, aquí con mi hermano mayor, Goyo, o Greg.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, Gabe, what's in the news this week? How about those crazy sharks attacking Americans? Have you heard about that?
Tiburones locos. We've had a couple of incidents of shark attacks recently. There was a shark attack in Hawaii off Oahu, and then there were two separate incidents the same day in Florida, coastal Florida, actually near where I have vacationed in the past. So it was all ladies that were attacked, young women, and it's a little scary because they were just standing in what they call waist deep or hip deep water, so water hasta las caderas.
Yeah, and although these happened maybe the same day or around the same time, I'm pretty sure that between Hawaii and Florida, it was not the same shark. It was different sharks.
Yes, they happened the same day, so it was definitely different sharks unless they could travel through space and time.
That's right. They had tickets on an airplane or something. What's our topic today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about some question words and confirmation of those questions and the way we do that in English and how it's a little bit different from the way we do it in Spanish.
And it is similar between English and Spanish, how we ask these, what we're calling confirmational questions. However, we want you to know that we're going to have more than one episode about how to ask questions. Today is just one style of asking questions. We'll have others for the other ways we ask questions too.
Well, before we get into it, let's go over some vocabulary words and phrases as we sometimes do. We're going to be talking about meat in two ways. So we want to make sure that you understand that meat can be M-E-E-T, which is como conocer.
Nice to meet you. Un placer.
And then, of course, M-E-A-T, also pronounced meat, que es la carne.
Moo.
So meat can be two different things. We're going to look at the phrase, I recently got sick. I recently got sick. We have an episode about using the verb got or to get. That's episode 14 if you want to review that. But I recently got sick, we would translate as recientemente me enfermé o me puse enfermo. We're going to talk about a demotion, getting a demotion at work. And this is when at work you get lowered in your position. Que es una degradación. So a demotion is when you, instead of getting promoted and going to a higher position, you're moved to a lower position, which is never good. And the last is going to be in charge of. We're going to talk about someone being in charge of something. And in charge of, it means sort of being the boss of or the supervisor of. So es como a cargo de.
Si te gusta escuchar nuestros episodios y si usas Android, puedes bajar nuestra app Tenaz Intermediate English gratis de Google Play. Brindamos enlaces en nuestra página noterindaspodcast.us a todas las apps que tenemos. Haz un clic en la pestaña hoy para ver las aplicaciones. Gracias. Okay, so we think what makes this difficult, what makes this a little what we'd call tricky, is that when you ask a confirmational question in English, if the statement that you're confirming is affirmative, the question will be negative, like no es cierto does in Spanish. So she sings well, doesn't she? Is an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
She sings well, affirmative. Doesn't she? Negative. Does she not? The opposite is also true. If the assertion or statement is negative, the confirmation question will be positive. He doesn't live in New York, does he? So he doesn't live in New York. He does not live in New York is negativo or negativa. Does he, como verdad? Affirmative.
Okay, so I get it. So if you're saying that someone does something and then you're asking they do that, I see. So she sings well is an affirmative, but to check that you'd have to say does she not or doesn't she? She sings well, doesn't she? And then you said a negative statement, he doesn't live in Nueva York, does he? So right, doesn't in the statement became does in the confirmation question. Maybe we could look at some more examples. You speak German, don't you? You speak German, don't you? So again, an affirmative statement, you speak German, and then the negative, do you not? Don't you?
Over here, please. Yes, could you look over here? Hey, look.
Hey, you aren't taking pictures of me, are you? You aren't taking pictures of me, are you? Yeah, so this is something that you have to ask all the time in 2024 because everybody has their phone out. You are not taking pictures of me. Negative. Are you? Positive form to the question.
I see. So you can't say, you aren't taking pictures of me, aren't you? That wouldn't work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would understand it, but it doesn't sound native. It does not sound native.
All right. Well, another thing I've noticed is that for some reason, English uses the verb do, like do, does, don't, doesn't, as a request for confirmation for almost all types of questions. So a lot of times if we're asking a confirmation question, it will end with do you, don't you, doesn't she? And incidentally, don't you will become don't ya a lot of times in English the way we say it. So I might say, you speak Spanish, don't ya? Which is just the same as saying you speak Spanish, don't you?
Or you speak Spanish, do you not?
Right.
That sounds very stiff, very formal. Okay, so Gabe is saying something that is generally true here. You're going to hear a lot of do, don't, does, doesn't in these questions. However, if a statement in the statement part of the phrase uses is or am or are, the confirmation question will almost always also contain a form of is, am, or are. So in the example I just used, you are not taking pictures of me. That uses are not taking. And so therefore the confirmation question is, are you? Not, Gabe, does you? You aren't taking pictures of me. Does you? Does not make sense in English.
Right. Right.
You aren't taking pictures of me. Are you?
Okay, so I think I'm starting to understand this. If it uses the verb to be in that way, you're going to use the verb to be instead of the verb to do. So she isn't here yet. Is she? I wouldn't say she isn't here yet. Does she? Because I'm asking if she is here. So I'm saying she is not here yet. Is she?
That's right.
Do I have that right?
Okay. That's perfect. All right, well, let's listen to these examples of don't you and are you coming up. Hey, Gabe, I'm having a few friends over and we're going to barbecue. I want you to come so that you can meet my friends from work. You eat meat, don't you?
Yes, I sure do. But listen, I recently got sick because I ate some bad meat at a restaurant. You wash your hands when you prepare food, don't you?
What kind of question is that? Of course I do. We'll cook the food, however you feel comfortable with us cooking it. I do have one request, however. You have a No Te Brindas Intermediate English t-shirt that is really, really ugly. It's poorly designed. You aren't wearing that shirt to the party, are you?
No, I'm not wearing that shirt to the party.
Or anywhere else.
So again, we see this pattern of an affirmative statement with a negative confirmation. You eat meat. Do you not? Right? You eat meat, affirmative. Don't you is negative. You wash your hands, don't you? But then Greg asked, you aren't wearing that ugly shirt to the party, which is a negative statement. You are not wearing that shirt. So he said, you aren't wearing that ugly shirt to the party, are you? So again, ending with an affirmative confirmation. So maybe we should look through another example. Wow, look at Bert. He looks 10 years younger. He goes to the gym all the time, doesn't he?
Yes, he says that he's lost like 25 pounds. His life seems to be improving since he got married to Jessica. He's always smiling, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I've noticed that. You said he got a pay raise, so he's making more money, and he got a new office. In fact, he's in your old office, isn't he?
Yeah, he took my office after my demotion.
Ouch.
But now I'm in charge of office supply inventory. I count things like paper clips and Post-it notes in the office. It's very important and also very exciting.
That does sound like an exciting job. Hey, you're not mad about losing your old office, are you?
No, I'm not mad. In fact, I have Gabe a new office. It's so convenient too, as it's very close to the men's bathroom, the men's restroom. Well, actually, it's a closet inside the men's restroom.
Oh, all that flushing is distracting, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. It is. And that is a negative aspect to my new office for sure. But on the positive side, though, very few people will bother me in my new office now. That's good, isn't it?
So again, I'm noticing if one is affirmative or positive, the other must be negative. He goes to the gym, affirmative. Doesn't he? That's negative. Does he not? He's always smiling, isn't he? All right. But then when he used the phrase, or actually I used it, he isn't in your old office, is he? All right. That would be a negative. He isn't in your old office, is he? That ends in an affirmative question. I didn't say he isn't in your old office, isn't he? It's got to be one or the other.
That's right. You have to have a balance with they cancel each other out, I guess. Well, Gabe, thank you for that amazing explanation and for all your time today. It's time for our quiz. ¿Qué se queda en el coco, oyentes? What is sticking in your brain today? I'll do one, and Gabe will do one. All right, Gabe, which one of these sounds good in English? Which one of these sounds correct in English? A, he isn't your dad, isn't he? B, he isn't your dad, doesn't he? C, he isn't your dad, does he? Or D, he isn't your dad, is he?
These all sound like real English questions, but only one of them really sounds right. He isn't your dad, isn't he? Breaks that rule we talked about. It's using two negatives, is not and is not.
That's right.
Okay. The next one, you said, he isn't your dad, doesn't he? That seems to be doubly wrong because it uses two negatives, but you said that if it's using is or are, it's going to stay with is or are. So in this one, it is became does. So I don't think that's right. And then you said, he isn't your dad, does he? So this follows the correct rule of negative to affirmative, but again, it breaks the is to does rule. So
that's right. Sounds bad. Sounds really bad.
Right. So he isn't your dad, is he? That's going to be the only one that's really correct. So this is something that Ella's friends no doubt said at times when we were out in public and I would act foolish. They would point to me and ask Ella, he isn't your dad, is he? And of course she would say, no, that's not my dad. I don't even know that guy.
That creep. Yeah. Get away from me.
That idiot. He's doing the chicken dance. So let me quiz you on one.
All right.
Which of these sounds correct? And of course, which two don't sound natural? All right. A, you eat meat, don't you? B, you're meeting a new client, doesn't she? C, you don't eat meat, don't you?
Ooh, boy, that, it just rings a bell in the ear when it's wrong, doesn't it? It just sounds so strange. So the only one that sounded good to me was, you eat meat, don't you? If that's what you heard too, oyente, congratulations. That is correct. And I want to remind you that Gabe said, you eat meat, don't you, would often be, don't ya? Don't ya? You eat meat, don't ya?
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to add, isn't he or isn't she can be shortened as well to like, idn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Idn't she?
Mm-hmm.
So if you hear id, like ID like that, that's really is. It's a little easier on the English speaking tongue to go, isn't he? Isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Or isn't he? Then isn't he?
Right. If I was trying to sound proper, I would say, he's a fine dancer, isn't he? But if I was being a bit more realistic and the way people really talk, I would say, he's a good dancer, isn't he?
Isn't he? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that guy's selling those No Te Rindas T-shirts, isn't he?
Exactly.
A little bit more common, right? A little bit more rough. All right, we want to thank our patrons. If you would like to become a patron of our show, you can go to www.patreon.com/diagonal No Te Rindas Podcast and see the benefits of membership. And we know that as you listen, most people cannot give. That's fine. If you can't become a patron right now, hey, just go play our app. It's free. Just go play our free app. Aunque no lo creas, that also helps us with our project. It helps to fund our project.
It really does. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it?
It really does, doesn't it? Yes, it does. All right. Let's shout out some of our repeat listeners in various cities all over the world. Today, we want to say thank you to Concepcion, Chile, Tripoli in Libya, Costa del Silencio in las Islas Canarias, and our friend in Ingram, Texas.
And we want to take a moment to especially thank the influencer or influencers that are in the Philippines. We have been getting crazy downloads from all over the Philippines, and we know it's because one or two people are sharing our episodes, and we just want to say maraming salamat to you. Now, how about you, listener? Would you consider sharing an episode or two with your friends? See if you think it might benefit them. We'd be grateful. And while you're at it, don't forget to review us if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening to us on any other podcast platform, we'd be grateful if you could take a moment and leave us a rating or what do they call that?
A calificación. That's right.
Calificación.
And one final time, of course, our website is noteerindaspodcast.us. And you can find a link there to take you to our apps on the Google Play Store. You can read our blog. You can suggest a topic for a future show. You can leave us a message. You can buy us a coffee. All of that can be done at our little tiny esquina, rinconcito on the internet, noteerindaspodcast.us. Well, Gabe, I think that guy that took over my office might have been swimming either off the coast of Hawaii lately or maybe in the shores off of Gulf Shores, Alabama. That shark took my office, got me demoted, and I don't know if you caught this, listeners, but my ex-wife's name is Jessica, and he married Jessica. So thanks a lot, bud.
Well, that's a situation that truly had some teeth, I would say. Sorry about that. That was really bad. Well,
that's it. Wait, hang on. That's a joke, isn't it?
Yes, that's, it's bad when someone has to ask that.
Right. That's a joke, isn't it? Is never a question. That's right. You don't want to hear that, do you? No quieres escuchar esta pregunta. Well, thanks for your time, bro.
You're very welcome. Stay out of the ocean if you can, at least for the next little while until the sharks get calmed down. But I sure had fun and looking forward to doing more episodes on questions. Aren't you?
Yes, I am. That's very well done. That's very well done. All right. Take care. Love you.
All right. Love you. Bye-bye.
Hey, could you look over here? Hey, look over this way.